to see your face. I like to be able to see what you look like, hear your body language. And really, I'm just trying to see in the first conversation is, can I sit with this person? Could I be locked in a room with them for 8 hours? Like, would I, if I'm traveling on a trip, could I be with this person? This is a really actually one I look for. Are you snapping your gum? Like, this is something that I'm like, if you're a gum snapper, you can't be on our team. Like, that's one of the things. So it's just, I mean, like, everybody's got their own thing and what they're looking for, but I'm really just trying to see how they articulate themselves. Are they funny? Have they laughed? And that sounds really weird, but that's legitimately what I'm looking for. Do they sound intelligent? Do they sound motivated? Do they have a plan? And I want to hear what they have to say. So I kind of do it under the guise of, let's just talk and you tell me a little bit about what you're looking for. And that's when they kind of go into their whole story. So usually about 30 minutes. And then after that, I'll say, okay, well, what we'd like to do next, we have a process for our team and we always do the KPA. So I tell them about the KPA, see if they'll do it. And I try to set up an interview within the next few days if I can. So that's kind of our process or what I do. And so this will be the actual next part of this. I don't want to go without Thomas. And I'm going to wait for just a second because I really want you guys to be able to have the KPA because it makes it a little bit easier. So one of the things that I say to everyone, so I would just come in and say, hey, Melanie, how are you?
I'm great. It's a little rainy outside.
I know. I'm just kind of
rough time.
But bad hair, but hey, we're both here, right?
Such bad hair.
Yes. Don't look at the back of mine. We're just going to pretend like it's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so what we're going to do today is review your KPA. And this is not a personality assessment. This is actually a job fit report. So it's really telling us, in a perfect world, how long could you be happy and love a job? Like, is it going to be something that comes natural to you, or is it going to be something that you're going to have to modify some behaviors to get into? So that's what we're going to talk about. So there is no pass fail. There is no right wrong. And when I do this is going to be a lot of reading and me taking notes.
Okay.
So you probably will not necessarily see my eyes. And as we go through this, I'm going to, I may stop and ask you questions or say, can you give me an example? And so the goal is, as we read through this, I'm going to go through the front page, and then after that, we'll start reading some of the narrative. And as I go through the narrative, if something's like, wait a minute, that doesn't sound like me, then you're going to say, oh, wait, I don't know about that part. Okay. And so really what we're doing is we're validating the KPA. So you're telling me, because there are times where sometimes these actually aren't accurate. And so you're going to help make sure that it is accurate. And if it's not 100% accurate, you're going to tell me how to correct that.
Awesome.
Just like you. Cool. Okay. And Tom's going to have some water. Okay, and I already tell him to need water. Yeah. Sorry. Thank you. I appreciate it. Sorry, I'm like ill prepared. Okay.
They should now all have the KPA in their email.
Okay, perfect. Because it makes it a little bit easier. So Melanie, just so that, I don't know if you can tell, but Melanie's got her KPA and I've got it. So typically you are not going to give, you're not supposed to ever give the KPA to someone until you validate. I'm looking at the wrong place. Until you validated it. So we only give these out. So I don't email these to them in advance. Typically, I don't even open them up. And then I might flip through them. But for the most part, I don't even look at them because I want this to be, this is really a crappy copy too, sorry. I want this to be a experience for me as it is for them. And I don't like to kind of know in advance. So I'll go through this.
Y'all are about to get to know me very well.
Yes. Thank you for doing that.
Oh, of course. No problem.
Okay, so on here it says job match rating. Melanie has an overall medium fit with the job of team buyer's agent. And so if you look on this page, Melanie, and yours is a much better copy than mine, you can kind of see at the bottom, there's a scale, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and it goes, so 0 to 10. Mm-hmm. And this job match detail report is listed in order of importance for the job. So if you were trying, if we were testing you against a different job, the categories would be in a different order.
Gotcha.
So we're going to go over each one of these as we read the narrative. And y'all can't see because you didn't get, oh, sorry, y'all can't see because y'all didn't get one in color. This is black and white. if I'm doing one, it's a little bit easier to do it with color because it's just a little bit easier to see, because at the bottom it gives you kind of a little map that says green dot, strong match, yellow dot. So otherwise you're looking at the bottom to see where this is. So we're going to start. Okay, so this section, this is the job match review, describes the key behaviors and thinking traits in the order of their importance to the job. Consider how each trait might impact Melanie in the job of team buyer's agent. Okay, so the first one says responsiveness. It says Melanie is, and you're really about a 2 or 3 based on kind of where I can see.
Looking at this, yeah.
Yeah, just looking at the 2. And so it says Melanie is responsive to people while maintaining good behavioral control. She impresses others as stable, steady, and not easily sidetracked or distracted. She can deal with some degree of time pressure, and she may resist a crisis-driven or chaotic atmosphere.
I agree with it mostly. I am very easily distracted, but I'm also very good at refocusing, so I guess it doesn't show as much. But I would say I'm easily distracted, unfortunately. Everything else is right, in my opinion.
Okay. So,
yeah.
So tell me about the crisis-driven or chaotic atmosphere, how you feel when you get in that kind of time crunch.
I like being in that environment. I bartended before this for a couple of years, and I really liked how fast-paced it was and like having to get things done in a certain order. So I think I'm fine in that kind of environment. Yeah, I think that's correct.
Okay. So you would say you don't resist a crisis-driven or chaotic atmosphere?
No, not at all.
Okay. Okay. I'm going in here.
You are taking notes.
Okay, so you would say you are not, would not resist crisis-driven.
No.
Okay, assertiveness. Melanie is confident in her ability to influence people, and she operates with a useful level of natural assertiveness. She demonstrates composure and resolve, and she enjoys working with people and promoting her point of view.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. Yeah.
Okay, 100% on for that one. Yeah. Okay, and so if you look, when you're looking at this, you can kind of see, yes, you can see it on yours, that gray bar,
yeah,
the black square is you, and so you can kind of see where you fall in that, and that's kind of like the range, the range of where they think. Okay, so let's do logical problem solving. Melanie works very well with complex problems and strategic issues. She can explain her solutions logically and can communicate them in such a way as to gain buy-in from others.
Very welcome. Yeah, yes, I would agree with that. That's valid.
Can you give me some examples of where this has kind of helped you?
Oh gosh. Oh man, that's a good spot. Complex problems and strategic issues. I think that comes, I mean, I'm going to throw back to practicing real estate, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah,
okay.
Totally.
I had 2 closings yesterday, and so there was confusion with the key situation, and so I was able to kind of like jump into that and really dissect what the real issue is and figure out how to get it solved. And it was fine. Everything's good. So, yeah.
Okay, that's really good, because sometimes I think there's a lot of smoke, and then but it's like, okay, what is the real issue here? And let's just address it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Got it. Okay, so we're now out of the high impact areas, and we're going to go into. Okay, so the first one is rapid problem solving. It says Melanie feels confident when asked to make quick decisions. She's comfortable in situations where she has to think on her feet. She can quickly identify patterns or themes from incoming information to solve problems.
Yeah, I agree with that too.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm always the decision maker in the group, regardless of what group it is, actually.
Tell me about that.
I don't know why that is.
You sound like that's just your realization all of a sudden.
Well, because like I'm thinking back to my friend group and just to something as basic as like, well, where do we want to go to eat? Oh, I don't care. Oh, I don't care. Okay, well, let's narrow it down to a few genres. Or I was like, okay, what type of food do y'all want? And they'll be like, oh, I don't care. Like, okay, we're just gonna go here. Everybody cool? Awesome. Let's go. Yeah, that's a very shallow example, but
no.
Yeah.
But it's cool to see that you realize you're like, wait a minute, I think I might be in all of my groups today.
Yeah.
No matter what group.
And me and my husband too, I'm definitely the decision maker as far as that goes.
Okay.
In the end.
I like that. Okay, sociability. Melanie is very people-oriented, and she has a good aptitude for building rapport and engaging in small talk. She tends to project an attitude of tolerance and acceptance, and for this reason, most see her as approachable. She likes to keep social exchanges friendly and low-key, in line with her calm demeanor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't like, that's one thing that I guess could be a fault even, that I don't like. I have to calm the storm. If there's a storm happening, you know, I have to minimize the issue, even if it doesn't have to do with me. Like it could be an issue with two other people, and there's just like some sort of miscommunication or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I'm very good at minimizing the conflict, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What birth order are you?
What?
Birth order, like in your family?
I'm the firstborn of 5.
Oh.
So it makes sense. A lot of this makes sense. Especially the decision-making part.
I'm the firstborn of 5.
Really?
Yeah, I am.
Oh, that's funny. I had no idea.
Yeah, I am. They tend to be...
we're bossy. We're really bossy.
Yes, but they tend to be able to get conflict resolved. They're not big fans of that.
Yeah.
Okay, intensity. Melanie has a very high level of emotional intensity at work, which can spur her to take action. When frustrated or committed to a cause or direction, she responds with a great deal of energy.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so what does this look like?
Absolutely. Well, you know, if it's something that needs to be addressed immediately, then I'll jump right on it, I guess. Emotional intensity. I used to teach before I did this, so this came in handy a lot in the classroom, you know. Like if I saw something that needed to be addressed, then I would address it and make sure that like the whole class has to see that I'm addressing it. So I have to use that really high level of energy. Otherwise it'll go, you know, over their heads. So I guess I've just carried that into everything.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Okay. Next one. These are the lower impact skills. So now we're getting into lower impact. Okay, vocabulary.
So lower impact is like it's lower on like the job fit.
Yeah, it's not as important for the job fit.
Gotcha,
so like in theory, like when they're looking and saying like how close you are to a fit, on the high impact, there's a little bit more
like
weight.
You have to get this.
Like we really like if you're going to be a fit in anyone, that's really kind of where they want you to see a fit. So that's probably why you showed up as a medium impact, because one of the top 3 responsiveness, you're way below.
Yeah.
So that would be why.
That makes sense. All right, cool. I never understood that.
Yeah, that's what it is. Okay, vocabulary. Melanie is an avid learner who picks up concepts easily and quickly. She is interested in a wide variety of topics, and she constantly seeks out new ideas and concepts. In new environments, she can readily pick up information, social rules, priorities, and culture. She's able to grasp subtlety and nuances in communication, which can positively impact the precision with which she interacts with others.
Yes. Yeah.
Were you a reader?
Yep, still am. Yeah.
What's your favorite genre of book to read?
Historical fiction is what I always gravitate towards. Yeah. Usually that. I'll branch out every now and again and do like horror or mystery or, you know, something that's just kind of like not teeny bopper, but lighthearted. Right. But for the most part, it's historical fiction.
Horror, lighthearted. But I get what you're saying.
I do all of the things, yes. Yeah, so yes, I read. Yes.
Okay, so what's your favorite book?
Oh, gosh.
I love to read. This is why I always ask questions about
you know, it's more of a favorite author. Okay. I like Margaret George's stuff. She writes, her books are like this long. Okay. So like it's a 1,000-page commitment, but it's always on like historical fiction, historical figures. So like she has a King Henry VIII one, she's got a Helena Troy one.
Really?
She's got Mary Magdalene, Cleopatra is my favorite. And it's their whole life from their point of view. So it's historical fiction. Obviously she has to take some license with it. Right. But like everything that the character goes through actually happens.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. I enjoy her a lot.
I'm gonna have to read some of those.
Yeah, she's a commitment, like I said, but
okay, well you have to tell me what the best one was, your favorite one if you're gonna start and you're not necessarily a history person.
Ooh, Cleopatra for you for sure.
Okay, Cleopatra.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got it down. I will order it today.
Yeah.
Okay, structure. Melanie does not actively pursue a structured work setting, and she is at her best when she can function independently and at her own pace. She is comfortable with activities that become familiar and routine over time. She likes to take ownership over her tasks without frequent interference from outside sources.
Yes. Yeah, I would agree with that too. Yep.
Okay.
I usually make my own structure.
Okay. You know, that's one of the things that I've noticed with teachers. And so for me and for our team, so your structure is, I think, a 3. And so even though on buyer's agent, structure shows up here for our team specifically, I am looking for people with a low structure because, and that's not typically normal for teams. They usually are looking for someone that's got a little bit higher. Most of the people on our team are between a 1 and a 3.
So laid back. All of y'all are so laid back. I can see that. I can see it.
It's totally, it is a sense of laid back, but also a lot of them were teachers or instructors. And teachers or instructors, you know, I always thought, because I've never been a teacher, that you had to follow a curriculum. But what I didn't realize is that there's certain things you have to, I guess, goals you have to meet and things
have to do, yeah.
have to do, but otherwise you plan your whole day. One of the things, I spend a little bit more time talking about structure. And this is just for you guys to know, so I'm kind of stepping out of the role. I always have a conversation about structure. If you are, even though we do have one very successful math teacher on our team, if you are a math background or an engineer background, super hard to work on our team. I mean, Jay is more logical and linear. I have like 0 logical linear side. I'm just not that way. And so because I didn't get into this, and actually no one on our team, whether you're on our team within a team or on our team, like I didn't get into this to micromanage people. It's just not my thing. And if you're one of those people that needs or requires a lot of structure, you will be unhappy. So part of this entire process, so even though structure shows up on lower impact, I know for our team, it's very important. So I really focus on, intensity, responsiveness, and structure. But structure for me is the #1 thing I'm looking at. And so I know that that's different from what the KPA says because it's on the lower impact. That's just something, in having done hundreds and hundreds of interviews for our team here and in San Antonio, I know that it's a key indicator of success. So we've gone back, and but maybe before some of the people that we didn't KPA years ago, we've gone back and looked at the people that have been in our team to kind of see what is our recipe for success. So that's something that I did. If you already have a team and you're thinking about growing it, this is a really great thing to do, to at least, if you haven't KPA'd some of your people, go back and KPA everyone so that you can kind of see like what is our formula. And you'll be surprised how many, we did a spread. I mean, there was a whole thing. I actually hired someone and we did this. I don't know, we did a couple other tests. I can't think of her name right now, but we did 3 of them. And then we went back and she put everything into a spreadsheet for us and came in and spoke to us about it. And it was really interesting and definitely worth the money because it gave me a real clear idea of kind of things that I already kind of felt were important to our team. But I was like, oh, okay, that's why I feel that big. So structure, though, before we even did this, I knew structure was a critical part for us. So it's something that I spend time on. It doesn't mean that it has to be something that you spend time on, but as you do this, you kind of need to think, what are the things, and I'm happy to talk to anyone about this, that you're really looking for. If you described your dream agent, and that responsiveness, intensity, and structure are like our big 3. So, okay, so we'll get back into it. Adaptability. Melanie tends to be accommodating and adaptable in her relationships. She is generally not one to impose her ideas or expectations on others and will usually conform to group consensus.
In most cases, yes. Yeah.
What would be a case that you wouldn't?
I can't think of any. So yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And so the reason why, like, accommodating, so when it's kind of interesting to see why they think these things. So the reason why accommodating
scared me.
That scared me to death.
Someone
The reason why accommodating isn't necessarily.
Oops, I'm accidentally muted you. Can you click on unmute?
There we go. Better?
My bad.
That's okay.
What's the last thing you heard?
Oh yeah, I didn't know where.
It was just a moment before.
Okay, so ultimately, like adaptability, the reason why they want that adaptability, they're looking, you know, on some level you have to be accommodating to as a buyer's agent, but on another level you have to be able to close. So it's one of the reasons why, if you look back on responsiveness, responsiveness I think ties into if you're expressive, they want you to have be impatient, like you know what I mean, and that also ties into intensity as well. Like you know, responsive people are like, they're never going to be, I hate to say satisfied, but you're like, I'm not doing well enough, you know, and then that's where intensity comes in. Like you will always have a higher, like intensity is probably I don't know, it's hard to decide between responsiveness and intensity. But adaptability, I would say, would probably be my fourth, because we want them to be accommodating, and I'm actually a little bit higher on the adaptability and accommodating scale than mine's totally off on a low fit for my job. But adaptability, you know, you want them to have that ability to close, and I think that's where responsiveness, intensity, and adaptability comes in. It's that impatience and ability to direct people kind of where they need to go.
Yeah.
Okay, optimism. Melanie is outwardly friendly and wants to be in good terms with nearly everyone. She maintains a generally positive sense of the future and likes to see the positive in others as well as in future situations. She will sometimes maintain this positive view even when the objective situation does not warrant it.
Yes. Yeah. I think I'm optimistic to a fault. And I'm always trying to, and again, this is almost to a fault, but like, you know, I'll see, this is a very extreme example, but like, I'll see a fight in the street, right? And I'll be like, well, so-and-so just wanted this, and the guy didn't mean to punch him so hard, and you know, he's probably a really nice person, and like, it's
that's an excuse maker. I do the same thing.
Yes, yeah. Exactly.
This is a super, super common response, and people always get worried about it. This is exactly what mine says. Mine might be a little bit different, but I think the thing that you have to remember is, I feel like naturally, as you stay in real estate a little bit longer, this sounds terrible, but it just beats the optimism right out of you, and then you become slightly more skeptical. Yeah. And so you're still an optimistic person on the inside, but give it time. You know, and you just start to realize, I mean, I think a lot of times everybody kind of, or not everyone, but a lot of people start out in this category, and it takes time to learn and feel comfortable in a job to be able to say, you know what, I think you're an amazing person, but you are ultimately never going to make a decision. Therefore, I cannot, you know, continue to help you as a buyer's agent if we can't seem to, you know, whatever, make a decision. I think that kind of stuff of where we drive people around for 9 years.
The excuse making.
Yes. Yeah. You're like, but they really do want to, and you know, all the different things. And then honestly, I typically skip spatial visualization because I don't even know what that, I guess shapes, for other situations, yeah. And I also did terrible on spatial visualization, so I just always skip it. So I'm like, it doesn't really, for a buyer's agent, it just doesn't play into it. I did well though. Oh, you did do well. I did well. Okay, let's just point that out. Just to see, because let's give her some props. Melanie can think about problems in which there are multiple variables that are changing. She can visualize three-dimensional structures and complex systems. This talent will help her with a variety of tasks, including engineering, technical, mechanical, and structural problems.
Engineering.
Okay, there you go.
No way.
But that is, you're good at that. Okay, so we're going to go to the next one. This is the operating styles. Oh, look, thank you. So it says, a person's behavior and thinking traits combine together in unique ways to impact the way, it's supposed to say he or she, they've never fixed it. He or she works with and communicates with others. So we're going to go through this. I'll read the whole entire paragraph. Okay. And then after we do that, you're going to kind of go through and tell me kind of what you agree with and help me correct these sentences so that they are really, truly perfect for you. Okay. Melanie is comfortable promoting her views, and she often relies on her positive personality and aptitude for friendly persuasion to make an impact. She is at home in people-oriented work settings that require her to take the lead to communicate, develop relationships, and build consensus. She is quite sociable and has an easy way with people. She is receptive to opposing viewpoints without being prematurely dissuaded. She is apt to utilize cooperation and flexibility when navigating through differences.
Yeah, I'm rereading it to make. I think I saw something that I was kind of like, hold on.
Yeah, because sometimes it's just a word you're like, I don't know about how I feel about that.
The first sentence is 100% on the nail. Yeah.
Okay.
Right there. Yeah. Okay, so what it was is work settings that require her to take the lead to communicate. It's not necessary, it's more, I feel like I'm more cooperative. You know what I mean? I don't want to be the one to, I guess, lord my opinions over other people. You know what I mean? I don't want to necessarily lead, but I do want to like make sure that there is good communication amongst the group.
Mm-hmm.
Thomas has lots of opinions.
So you don't want to lead.
I don't mind co-leading, you know, but I would, because I want people to like me, right? So people don't like the person in charge usually. They're like, no offense.
Wow.
Thomas is throwing me off.
Golly.
You know what I mean?
Because,
okay, that's not the truth. I would feel like nobody liked me because I'm in charge. You know, I'm bossing people around. I'm leading. I'm telling them how to do things. And I don't want to necessarily just be the boss. I want to be more the facilitator of the group than the boss, I guess, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so then let me ask you a question. Hold on, I've just got to finish writing this. So one of the things that I'm doing is I'm trying to use, when we do this, the words that she says. So that's super, super important, is you're writing down the words that she says. So this is why I'm like writing all the time.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. Because I want to use, like in my head, I'm putting it in my words and I'm trying to write down your words. You want, what did you say? You want to facilitate?
Yeah, I want to be less of the leader, but more of just the facilitator. You know, I don't mind being the person that someone goes to for answers. I don't mind at all helping someone in that way, but I don't want to go in and say, do this, you know what I mean?
So then let me go back. So you said over here, I agree that you're always the decision maker in all your groups with your husband too.
Yeah.
So tell me about that. So how does that feel right to you? But this,
that's really good. That's a really good thing to notice. I don't. If people come to me and say, "Hey, what's your decision? We need a decision. Make the decision." Cool. But like, I'm not going to stand up unless somebody is like having me be the person to, you know what I mean?
Right.
I'd rather just like, everyone just needs to be friends. We're on the same level. Let's just get along. And that's how it was, as this is weird, but as the oldest child, you know, like you're like, everybody has to get along. Okay, nobody can make a decision. Let's just do this. Kind of like they work together somehow.
So for you, decision making feels different than leading.
Yes. Yeah. Huh. That's a realization.
Okay. Did you, what's the age gap between you and your youngest?
2 years. Two.
So the youngest is 10 years younger than you?
About, yeah. She just started at Tech, actually, this fall, yeah.
Okay. So 10 years difference.
Yeah.
Okay. Oldest to youngest.
It's like guidance if they ask for it, but they were always asking for it, so you know.
Yeah.
You know.
Did you have any problem being the leader of the kids in your family?
No.
I mean, did you feel like the leader there?
Yeah. Yeah, and you know, that's something that my parents always said was like, you know, you're the leader. You have to set an example. You have to lead them. They kind of put that on me a little bit. Not that I, you know, resent them for that at all, but Yeah, I was definitely, I guess, if there was a leader, I was definitely a leader. I think that just comes with seniority, though, in the sibling dynamic.
Yep. Okay. Perfect. Thank you. Decision making. Melanie is self-reliant in her manner of dealing with issues and making decisions. She brings an appropriate level of natural assertiveness and determination to achieving objectives. She emphasizes common sense reasoning and practical benefits as justification for her initiatives. She likes to avoid bureaucracy and cumbersome procedures. She prefers to simplify issues and to push forward in a direct and calculated fashion. She's willing to make decisions on her own without substantial guidance or validation from management.
I agree with most of this. Brings an appropriate level of natural assertiveness and determination. Definitely don't like bureaucracy. That's true. Yeah, I think this is pretty spot on.
Okay, so let me ask you this. In that first sentence when you were reading it under your breath, it was the second one. It says she brings an appropriate level of assertiveness and determination to achieving objectives. You got, what was that for?
Yeah, it was just, the word natural is what threw me off. Like it's almost seems like it's like a learned behavior or an instinctual behavior than a learned behavior. You know what I mean? So I think I'm just nitpicking this apart.
No. That's no. I this is what helps me is like hearing how you. It's validating this for me and hearing how you kind of see yourself. And I think it's always fun for being on the other side. Yeah, you're like, oh well, you're not nitpicking it. So she brings an appropriate level of natural assertiveness and determination to achieving objectives. So would you say you're not naturally assertive? It's more of a learned skill, or what would you say?
I would say necessary instead of natural.
Necessary. So you don't think that you're naturally assertive and determined?
I don't know if I think that that's something that I've learned throughout the years. I wouldn't say that that's something that I was born with. I think that it's a learned behavior, and it's well practiced, and I don't hesitate to use it. But I think that's something that I had to do, and so that just became my personality as opposed to my natural personality. Because, like I said, I just want everybody to be friends and get along.
Okay, hold on. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
Would you say you're a people pleaser?
Like even if I'm not in as good of a position because I have to please the person. Absolutely. Yeah.
When does this hurt you? When you're being a people? I mean, have you ever come a time where it's like that? Like it did you detriment?
Yes. Plenty. I mean, there are lots of natural consequences. Like when I was waiting tables and stuff. I'm just trying to get the customer what they need. This is a poor example. Hold on.
There's no rush. We're not in a hurry.
No. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what to say to that. Help me. Guide me.
Well, you said yes, you're a people pleaser, and then I'm asking you, has there ever been a time when you were growing up or in real estate where you really tried to please someone and it didn't work out for you, and then?
Yeah, I mean, sure. I think that this is kind of deep, but with my dad especially, I was always trying to please him. I always needed his approval, and sometimes I wouldn't get that, and that really would knock me down a lot. But yeah, so with him especially, and I think that probably carried over to my my relationships too. Well, you're unhappy, so I'm gonna do whatever I need to do to make you happy. I don't care how I feel. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? You're
Do you think you're still that way?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
Okay. Do you think you pleased your dad in your relationships now?
I think I've realized, or I've come to realize that a lot of it is in my head, you know what I mean? And it's not even necessarily what's really happening. But I do sometimes catch myself still having that mentality. And I have to like I have to stop myself from thinking that way. You know what I mean?
So you kind of realize that sometimes it can be to your detriment.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, there were plenty of bad boyfriends in my past, but I learned that. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Have you ever read The Untethered Soul?
Uh-uh.
You should read that. It's a really good book. It's I don't know his name. It's blue with a horse on the front. It's called The Untethered Soul. You might not like it the first time, but you've got to read it like 3 or 4 times.
Is it like oh, it's too deep kind of thing, or what do you mean?
I loved it the first time. A lot of people are like, I had the first 2 chapters and I couldn't. She's like, I just can't. And I'm like, so I think a lot of people either love it the first time or they really struggle with it. But it talks about the concept of we are not the things in our head, like we are not our thoughts.
Right.
And I think that's kind of a little bit different concept.
Yeah.
Because we always say you are what you think, but we think all sorts of things.
Well, yeah, and you'll think like, well, everybody can see that I don't have these eyelashes on today, and everybody's watching me, but nobody noticed that day or something.
And so, we, thoughts are just thoughts. That doesn't mean they're true.
Right.
And so, it talks about a ton of stuff. It is a fabulous book. I have a copy in my office.
Oh my gosh, yes.
I'd happy to get.
Please.
Okay. Ideal environment. And thank you for sharing this. That was really good. It helps me. Ideal environment. Melanie has a decided preference for working on her own timetable and for managing tasks and relationships independently. She is drawn to socially active work situations where she can excel on the basis of her social skills. She is calm and patient, and she is comfortable with social exchanges. She deals well with established daily routines while being flexible when facing changes of pace, as well as unexpected distractions and shifting priorities.
I think, and especially now that I've been in real estate for, over a year now already. I'm realizing that real estate especially is just being able to have really great conversations with people. And that's definitely my strong suit. I'm really good at, making connections really easily with people and, expanding on those and, getting some sort of rapport.
I love that.
Quickly.
Yeah. That's a great quote.
I think I got that from bartending, honestly. But yeah, let's see that.
I love that. Real estate is just communication.
Yeah, that's all it is. Yeah.
That's a lot of what it is. Okay. Ideal supervisor. Melanie likes to be on positive terms with management and coworkers. She's encouraged by a socially positive supervisor who shares her enthusiasm for achieving objectives in a straightforward way. Melanie may require friendly reminders to keep control of paperwork, loose ends, and more detailed follow-up activities. She benefits from a supervisor who is willing to delegate and to provide her with the freedom and autonomy she seeks. Melanie can feel stifled by close supervision or many restrictions on her movements. She may resist a strong emphasis on administrative details and being micromanaged. Her asset lies in her social ability and her flexibility.
Yeah, that's 100% correct. Yeah, absolutely. Luckily, I don't have to deal with the paperwork stuff. We have a transaction coordinator, so
exactly.
Don't have to worry about that.
You go teams.
Yeah,
perfect. Okay. The wrong order. Yes, it is. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
Okay. Team dynamics. Melanie is comfortable making presentations, leading discussions, and being visible and influential in a group. She is not inclined to personalize disagreements or conflicts. She has a good capacity for being objective, calm, and pragmatic when working through difficulties. She channels her energy and enthusiasm towards cultivating friendly and useful relationships. She is confident achieving her objectives on the basis of her social skills, personality, and persuasive abilities. She avoids being too direct or offensive, and she can be skillful in winning people over by being engaging.
Yep, 100%. Yeah, I do avoid being too, I think offensive is a better word, because I don't mind necessarily being direct, but I'll be direct in like the nicest way, and I'll reread the text message or whatever it is that I'm writing like 7 times before I decide that it doesn't sound like I'm coming off bitchy somehow. You know what I mean? Because I'm really worried about that. I don't want to be rude.
Yeah, ever. Yeah. What's the worst thing someone could do to you as far as like just in a social setting? Like what's the worst thing that would like, You may not say something about it right then, but it would really bother you.
Oh, that's a really good question. What could they do? Like to me personally?
To you personally, like we're in a social setting or it's, you know, you're on a team and someone does something to you. What's something that when it happens, like it cuts you to the core, even though it may not be a big deal to someone else, or maybe it is a big deal to everyone. What's the thing that gets you?
Like if people that I don't care about them, or I don't care about the situation, or anything, that really honestly is what gets me the most, I guess, triggered would be the word for that. It's just like how dare you say something so awful to me? And I won't ever say something in the moment, of course. I might come back if it really bothered me, but a lot of the times I really don't appreciate when people assume that my intentions are not good. They assume that I have poor intentions. You know what I mean? And that could be like some way that they look at me, or they could say something that makes it seem like I'm not invested in whatever the situation is, or whatever that may be. You know what I mean?
So it's not just something they say. It could be just a look or a mannerism.
Yeah, it's usually more like an offhanded comment than it is like a look. I'm not that easily offended, but yeah, if someone tries to insinuate that I'm not trying to be the best person that I'm trying, like, because I always am, you know what I mean? And I really don't appreciate when they just assume that I'm not, for one reason or another. You know?
Right. Has it happened to you before?
Yes, I'm sure. I don't remember exactly what the scenario was, unfortunately, but yeah. Okay. I want to say it was like in college or something, like in the friend group or something. I don't know. It doesn't happen very often.
But you said that you wouldn't say anything about it at first. No. You would probably think about it. So what would you do?
Yeah, I would probably, the first thing I would do is, if there's more than one person in a situation, is I would gauge everybody else's reaction and see, like, am I reading too far into this, or was that something crappy that they said? You know what I mean? And I can usually tell, because then I can decide, like it's not in your head, like you need to address it, or sometimes I won't even address it. You know, I'll just be like, see you next week, whatever. And just
what would make you not address it?
Knowing that the person probably wouldn't receive it well, because usually I can gauge people's moods, and if I know that this conversation isn't going to be productive, then there's no point in having the conversation.
What if it's a close friend or a family member or something like that?
I will usually bring it up. Yeah, usually I have.
Even if you know they wouldn't receive it well?
Ooh, I don't know. Probably. If it was, you know, something that needed to be addressed, you know, if it's something that's just like my feelings are hurt, then I'll let it go. But if they really have this idea that needs to be changed, I'll say something, usually days after the fact. First, before I can talk to somebody else without feeling emotional. You know what I mean?
Do you not like to feel emotional in front of people?
No, it's a weakness.
It is a weak. You think it's a weakness, or?
Yeah, I think, I think so.
Do you see them as weak?
Oh, no, I don't see them as weak, but I feel like, I guess it's not a weakness, it's more of a vulnerability, and I don't like feeling vulnerable, because like I'm so worried that people will take advantage of that vulnerability. You know what I mean? So I have to like put up the happy face. This got really deep, y'all. Sorry.
No, this is what this is for. So what if someone's vulnerable with you? How do you feel about that, though?
Oh, I love that. That's so weird. I'm having a realization.
Yeah.
No, I'm the comforter. I would comfort them, make them feel better, you know, and assure them that it's fine. You know, you're allowed to feel this way. Like, soon you won't feel this way.
Do you appreciate that they shared that with you, that they were able to do that?
Yeah, I like being someone who's approachable and someone who you can like come to me with your issues, you know, and I won't, you know, judge you for them. You know, if you're doing something wrong, I'll tell you. I'll say, this is probably what happened, and this is probably how this person felt, and this is probably what needs to happen next, you know, kind of thing. Does
it make you get closer to them?
Yeah, sure.
But do you, Like, do you seek that out, or you would be okay if it happened?
I mean, I wouldn't say I necessarily seek it out, but I'm certainly not uncomfortable with the situation. It's happened to me plenty of times. Yeah. I feel like I was in the middle of saying something, but I totally lost my trail of thought. Sorry.
But for you, you're just not comfortable being vulnerable in front of people.
It's really hard to be. It's really hard to be because then I'm not the go-to person. Then I'm the one. I want to be the go-to person, not the person who needs a go-to person, which is silly saying that out loud,
but that's how you see it.
But that's how I see it, I guess, in my head. Maybe not even consciously, but saying it out loud, that seems really silly. I don't think it's conscious. It's a conscious decision.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good.
It's weird.
No. It just helps. I mean, this gives me a better understanding. Like, it's super important to me when I'm looking at someone for our team, not only that I find a partner that's going to work with the people on our team, but and our team in general, but also to make sure that this is going to be the thing that you need. Because for me, I'm like, you may want to join the team and I may really like you and want you to join, but if I know the fit isn't there, then I don't want to do something that is going to harm you, even if it means having to say, you know what, this isn't going to actually work.
Yeah.
And so to me, understanding people on this level is really important. And I love when people are vulnerable with me. And I have a tendency to be very vulnerable with pretty much anyone.
Yeah.
Like strangers. It just doesn't even matter. And I think, to me, I think it's very scary, but I enjoy the scariness of it because you're really, but I think when people are that way with me, it makes me feel like you're sharing a part of yourself.
Yeah, and that's significant.
That is significant. And I take it as a gift, especially like in these situations. I mean, people are always share stuff. And I think that thing that I would think that you should maybe think about is that, you know, there's amazing things to learn about you, and like you sharing this feels like a gift to me. And so maybe just something to think about. Being vulnerable doesn't mean, or emotional in front of people doesn't necessarily mean that that they're not going to like you, or that you're not, that you're weak or anything like that.
I think,
and it's more of a gift.
Yeah, I think it comes back to, I've always had to be the strong one. I always have to be the strong one. You know, I'm the first.
Yeah.
So I have to pave the way.
Yes.
And be there to cry on and not be the one crying, because I have to comfort the person crying. You know what I mean?
Yes. I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. I get that. Okay. Let's go into descriptive review. Melanie's traits do not exist in isolation of each other. Each trait impacts the other. Below is an integrated view of Melanie. As you read this section, consider how Melanie might perform as a teen fighters agent. Okay, we're going to do it paragraph by paragraph. Melanie has the ability to work well with people and teams in a calm and deliberate manner. She will impress others with her willingness to listen. She can operate with limited guidelines and structure, as she prefers to develop her own methods. She has aggressive tendencies and is naturally inclined to take social initiatives in order to achieve her objectives. She will not be overly dominant or forceful, but she will positively influence others. She has good behavioral control. Although she solves problems quickly, she is not one to react with undue haste. And her measured, deliberate responses can have a calming effect on others.
Is this just more validating the paragraph?
Yep, we're going to validate this paragraph.
Yeah, willingness to listen. Operate limited guidelines. Yep. The only thing that I would semi-disagree with is the aggressive tendencies. I mean, I would say that I am inclined to take initiatives if something isn't getting done and it needs to get done for like the betterment of the group. But I just think, I mean, I guess because aggressive just has some sort of negative connotation to it, which is unfortunate, because I know it doesn't mean like in a negative way here necessarily, but I've never really thought of myself as an aggressive person.
Where are you on this thing? Hold on. Well,
Which
your
thing?
assertiveness is a 5.
Yeah, I mean,
So you're right down the middle.
Yeah, in a professional setting, especially, like, obviously it's different than like personal somehow. But like, oh, where was I going with that? So like, as far as like with working, like I don't care reaching out to people that need, you know, if I need to be assertive or aggressive, then you know, I will be in the nicest way possible.
Right.
But yeah, I
Okay.
guess, I don't know, aggressive is really the only thing that I have quote unquote issues with in this paragraph. Everything else is pretty on point.
What attracts you to people? Like, just not just humans. What's
Intelligence.
The thing that,
Like people who are ignorant, either willingly or not. Unfortunately, like if I got very high on vocabulary, right? So I like to keep. It's hard connecting with people who either who really it's willful ignorance, right? Like if the person like just doesn't know, and that's fine or whatever. But if it's if they're willfully ignorant and they're actively not trying to gain additional perspective on whatever it is that they're ignorant on, that bothers me, you know. Or someone who complains about their situation, complains about how awful their situation is, but they're not actively doing anything to like improve their situation. And they could, but they're choosing not to. That bothers me. And people who are just mean to other people. Like if you're rude to the server, we can't be friends. I don't like that at all.
okay, so mean to the server. I get that. So no Karens.
No Karens. Gosh, no, I can't mess with Karens.
Okay.
I will if I need to, you know. I like if I absolutely need to, but I won't reach out and try to expend more time with this person.
Right.
Yeah.
So intelligence, what else?
Yeah, just being rude or ugly to somebody else.
But what attracts you to people?
Oh, what attracts me, sorry. What else? So I guess kindness, you know, if they're really nice, or if I see someone like go out of their way to pick up a pen that someone dropped that they don't know, like that's significant to me. That's really awesome. I like people who do that. What else? I also, you know, I like to have fun, and I like to have people who they're easy to have fun with. You know what I mean? Like they're also, you know, just there to have a good time, and they just want everyone to have a good time. And, you know, I don't like anybody who would, you know, like, I don't know, like lose their patience during an outing or something. Impatience, I don't like that either, I guess is one.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, the next paragraph. She is socially adaptable person. She's a socially adaptable person who makes a strong effort to understand people and situations. She strives to do what is appropriate and positive. She can accept a degree of structure in her job, but she feels a basic need for freedom of choice and latitude of operation. She can function well without strict guidelines or close confinement. She can be effective in helping or coordinating role because of her people skills and sensitivity. She may find some aspects of leadership uncomfortable, such as making demands and dealing with negative or contentious people.
Yeah.
That's it.
Absolutely. That's exactly what I was trying to say. I don't know about like just now, but also earlier. Yep.
So a lot of times a descriptive review sounds like it's reading the other part, but then they'll pop out a great sentence like that. And you're like, oh,
yeah,
there it is.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Contentious. That's a good word. I like that word.
That is a good word. Okay. Okay, Melanie is oriented towards people and has a natural desire to interact with others. She tends to initiate contact and enjoys variety in her interpersonal relationships. She is often upbeat and positive in attitude. She has a very high level of emotional intensity when dealing with difficulty or problems. When frustrated, she responds with a great deal of energy.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
She is a natural problem solver and likes a steady flow of new problems at work. She can quickly identify solutions to daily problems as well as work methodically through larger, more complex issues. She can provide logical and linear explanation that greatly aids in her communication and persuasion.
Logical and linear explanations?
Mm-hmm.
What does it mean by that?
So you can explain things to people in a way that they understand. So it's logical and linear. Like I'm the opposite of a logical and linear thinker. Like I'm going to try to explain something to you, and 30 minutes later, you have to pick it out from bits and pieces of a conversation that lasted 30 minutes. So logical and linear is you're going to come in and you're going to say, hey, here's what we need to get done. We're going to do this, 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 and this. And you're going to tell them what to do in a logical and linear fashion in which the majority of people understand. Whereas like someone who's not a logical and linear thinker is going to start off and say maybe 1 and 2, and then they're going to tell you the feeling that they want to get when you do number 3, and then they're going to tell a story from when they were a kid.
I think that's more like me. I do think that that's more like me. I mean, I can be, if it's like a professional setting, especially like, and we have an objective that we need to achieve, then yeah, I know how to like have everything together so that I can explain something in a linear way. But if it's a more organic conversation, I'm usually much more open place. You know what I mean? So with prep, I can do linear explanations. But if I'm just winging it, then yeah.
So when you say organic situations, do you think that you are in a professional setting? This has come out. So I think one of the interesting things about the KPA, so when did you do this? Did you do this when you first started?
I did this when I first was applying for the DOFI position. So this was
when this first came out?
Like 4 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and
what were you doing during that time?
Professionally. I didn't have a job. I was looking for a teaching job, and the summer was almost over. But
had you been a teacher previously?
No, I was, but I had graduated from school in December, and then I actually substituted for that second semester until the summer, and then summertime I started looking for a teaching job, and I already was, But so when this happened specifically, I wasn't in a job. I was in between.
But you had just finished school.
I had recently finished school. It had been several months, but yeah. So
a lot of times I think sometimes we're in different places. Now in theory, that's not supposed to happen with these, but sometimes we're in different places. And like, if you, like, I think the way I answer this now is a little different than probably personality wise who I am, because I've learned like to do this, push a lot of things up. And you can see like, that's one of the reasons why job fit is so important. So if you were to look at mine, it says I'm medium, but I'm literally like basically mostly in low, but just a teeny bit in the medium. And so for me to do the true job of a mega agent, I really have to push up so many different skills.
Yeah, I've definitely had to hone certain things since starting here as a realtor, obviously, not as a DOFI. So, I think some things I am better at than I was before. And, of course, I've discovered a whole other slew of issues that I need to work on, of course. In addition to what I'm working on now.
Isn't that life?
Yeah.
How that works.
So maybe it could change. I mean, I don't think it would have changed much if I tried taking this again. But maybe one or two things.
It's always interesting. You're not really actually supposed to, but I always love to kind of think about that. I did it once. I took it like 4 previously. Okay. So typically here, depending on where we're at and how I've gone with the interview, you are technically supposed to read the significant mismatches. So really, I would only do the red, especially if I'm just if I haven't gotten a feel. So if I'm not 100% sure in this next step, this is where we do this. So, okay, so it says, so now we're going to go over the job considerations. It says, Melanie has an overall medium fit with the behavior and talent traits required in the job of team buyer's agent. When evaluating potential job fit, it's helpful to examine each mismatch between Melanie and the job targets. So the first one is going to be a significant mismatch. So it says red mismatches are significant and should be carefully examined. So this is under your responsiveness, which was the first, I think
the top one.
The top one. So it's the first one. It says the responsiveness job target is high. People with high responsiveness are very expressive with their thoughts and opinions. They tend to prefer a fast pace and like lots of things happening at once. Melanie has a lower response. So these are considerations. We're going to talk about these. She may be overwhelmed if too many things are happening at a rapid pace. Others, especially impatient people, may see her as too deliberate in her actions and decision making. She may have difficulty effectively demonstrating a sense of urgency when necessary. So when I think of responsiveness, I think of impatience. And like, there's never a time like where being impatient is, I guess I shouldn't say that, is a desired skill, I think, except in here. And so demonstrating a sense of urgency and that sense of urgency. So do you want to talk to me about each one of these and tell me kind of, do you feel like this is something that's you, not you, you're working on it, or how you dealt with it?
Sure, yeah. I think I probably have had to work on this since especially becoming an agent. But I would agree with the top, the overwhelmed with too many things at once, because like I said, I like that, you know, it makes the day go faster. That's funny because the second one, others, especially impatient people, may see her as too deliberate in her actions and decision making. So, funny story. So, my husband, Calvin, and I actually taught at the same school before I ended up coming back here. But so we would leave together, right? We carpooled. And so, and this seems so silly, but it kind of applies. But he would always finish his day and he was like, let's go. We're going to leave. Let's go. I'll leave. I'm not getting paid anymore. Let's go, kind of thing. And you know, he would come over to my room because he was always ready to go first. And I'm still like, I'm going to put this stuff on my desk, make sure all my stuff on my desk is done. And oh, it drove him nuts. It drove him absolutely bonkers. And so that's honestly the first thing that popped into my head. As funny as that is, because that was like a semi common thing. You know, he's like, Melanie, can you can do that tomorrow, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I would get frustrated with him. I'm like, I'm going to take 5 minutes and I'm going to organize my desk so I feel better in the morning. Thank you very much, kind of thing. So I would agree with that.
Okay.
I don't think I would have issues demonstrating a sense of urgency, especially now having worked here. I think I'm much better about that than I was.
Give me some examples of way you kind of use that now as a buyer. Everybody knows she is actually a buyer's agent. So yeah. So probably wouldn't have this, but we just asked for examples in a different situation. But give me some examples of how you kind of push that sense of urgency, or you deliver that sense of urgency.
Well, I mean, it's just, it's not going to get done if I don't do it, kind of thing. And it's happened, you know, in any step of the transaction. But like a client will need me to, this is actually not my example. Well, hold on, let me think of a better example. An urgency? Well, so like if my buyers are feeling a sense of urgency, like they had so they had to place a contingent offer, right? They had to sell their house before they could buy a new one. And they were worried about, you know, the in-between, like what if we sell our house and we can't find one that we like? And so their sense of urgency was very, very high, obviously, as it should be. So I had to, you know, like, okay, we're gonna get it done. We're gonna go see 4 houses today. It's gonna be great. And tomorrow we're gonna see 4 more, and we can put an offer on this one. You don't want an offer on this one? Okay, fine. Like it was a very quick back and forth urgent thing, but that's the most recent thing that I can think of.
Okay, so what would you do if someone didn't have a high sense of urgency? So they don't have a high sense of urgency, and you need them to, like, how would you change that?
Well, there's another example. So I was listing another house in Fort Worth once, and we had an offer on the table. And you know, we had to have the decision. She had to sign off by 5 p.m. that night, right? And she ended up not signing. She ended up not accepting the offer. But like, she did not have a sense of urgency. But I'm just like, look, these people need an answer. You need to give them an answer. And I had to be that annoying person that was calling her and saying, hey, you have 15 minutes to make this decision. Like, can you please make this decision?
Why did she end up not doing it?
It was like $1,200 seller credit or buyer credit. She didn't want to agree to that. So
did she end up taking a lower offer?
No, they ended up not selling. I got her offer. It was a great offer. It was the highest offer they were going to get. And she didn't accept it. I think she was probably projecting other things that were going on in that moment or in her life at that moment, but they're still there at that house, which is unfortunate. But, you know, I had to get an answer fast, and it ended up being a no, which was unfortunate, but I can't make that call.
Okay, so give me an example of where the people didn't have a sense of urgency and you came out on top. So you delivered that to them, and then you kind of had to push them there, and the outcome that you wanted happened.
Okay, so not the Fort Worth person, but those other people who I was just talking about, they, we had to get things done before the option period is over. And they wanted everything looked at. They wanted an electrician out there. They wanted the foundation guy out there. They wanted the house, you know, obviously inspected top to bottom before option was over. And so I had to get all those people in the house as fast as possible, basically.
Okay.
Yeah. And they didn't realize that it was like, look, if they don't get in this house, then like if you want to make repairs, you're not going to be able to ask for it necessarily, or they may not agree to it. So
they didn't realize that.
They didn't realize that. I had to explain the whole option period purpose to them about halfway through option period. So that was fun.
Okay.
That was fun. Yeah, which is weird because they had bought a house before several times, so you would think, but
okay. So at this point, I would love to do, so our interview process is 2 steps. And I feel like I would love to take you to the next step, which is your life story. And it's my favorite part. It's really, and I really do think you get a lot out of it. I love doing it. I love having it done to me. Like it's just, I think it's really impactful.
Okay.
For both me and for you or the person who's on the other side too. Is that something you'd be interested in?
I mean, sure.
Okay,
sure.
Good.
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay, perfect. That's just, it's kind of one of the things that we do as a process to be an agent on our team. And then, so after this, do you have any questions for me? Have you realized anything? How do you feel about it?
Lots of realizations. I have conflicting opinions, I think is one of the realizations. Yeah. And I'm probably going to keep this, right?
It's yours.
I need to mull this over and have more realizations, but yeah, I think that it was probably just as enlightening for me as it was for you.
It always is. I think that's one of the things I love about this process is that even if we decide or you decide at the end, like this may not be the right fit or it just for some reason doesn't work out, I feel like the time still has a value.
Yeah. So yeah, it's not for like a therapy session.
Exactly.
Therapy session.
Exactly. Okay, well, so do you have any other questions for me right now?
No, I don't have any questions. This is great.
Okay, cool. Okay, so that is typically what this looks like, guys. Oh, sorry. That is typically what this looks like, guys. So what questions do y'all have for me?
There's a few on the board. One is the question for the end, is there one of these categories that shows
figure out ability?
So like, can an agent just figure crap out?
Yeah, I think I know who asked this question, but
logical problem solving?
Someone to join the team, maybe not necessarily as a buyer's agent, but even in an administrative role, and the role requires a lot of just figure it out ability instead of
just wing it and do it.
Yes. So I think that's a lot of like, if you need hand holding or a lot of instruction, not your girl. So, and I think part of this is in this interview process where we literally sit down and like, I'll go through and tell people, these are all the bad things about me. Like if you are going to be sad if I forget to return your text, if you're not going to remember to text me back, if you send me an email and I never respond, like, are you going to be upset? And I think I tell a lot of people, so I'm very, very clear. So I think so much of that figure out ability is having very clear realizations about yourself. Like, I know who I am, and I know, like, if you're going to need me to tell you 15 times, like, I don't mind explaining something to you, and I'll sit down and I'll show you. But if you tell me you've got it, I assume that you have it. And I'm nice and approachable. If you don't have it, just tell me that you don't have it, and we'll talk about it. So on here, though, I think you're probably looking less into responsiveness, but most into intensity. You know, I think you're going to look at vocabulary too, because vocabulary is a big indicator on intelligence. Now, just because you have a big vocabulary doesn't mean you have the initiative, because that's what you're talking about. I think you're talking, you know, we hear a lot of times team owners will say, I want people that are motivated. I can't find anybody motivated people. And I'm like, guys, let's be honest. Like, I'm not a motivated person. It's why I have a personal trainer. It's why I have a coach. It's why I have a therapist. It's why, you know, like, people aren't naturally motivated. What you're talking about is someone who has a low need for structure. Now, and I don't know if the person who asked this question, what their team structure is, but to me, this sounds like low structure, because structure, someone who wants structure is like, come in, tell me what to do. I know what to do, like you're telling me. I'm never going to be that person. So I think you're looking for someone that is a lower structure. Now, if it's admin, we're talking about something different. And then also you're looking at intensity. So when here's what it says, Melanie, and can I have mine for a second? It says, Melanie has a very high level of emotional intensity at work, which can spur her to take actions. When frustrated or committed to a cause or direction, she responds with a great deal of intensity. So to me, and if you look, I think mine is similar to this. So if you look at mine, it says, Carissa has a high level of emotional intensity when dealing with difficulties or problems at work. When frustrated, she responds with great passion. Most of her intensity and drive may be internalized, however, it's for brief outward expressions. I'm not going to sit around and wait for someone to, so, I mean, high level intensity means I'm going to get frustrated with not knowing the answer. And if you don't respond back to me fast enough, I'm going to figure it out. Now, I think when you talk about figure it out ability, I think you're talking really about intensity and structure. Because if someone needs structure, if they have a high need for that, they're not going to make a move without knowing what to do. They will not. And so you're looking for key words and phrases on here that means I'm just going to figure it out. The thing that I would remind you is, if you want someone that has figured out ability, you better also be very calm enough and relaxed enough to understand that you haven't given them the appropriate instruction. And I know that, like, I'm not saying we don't train our people, but like, I need you to have this self ability to take initiative and do those things. You have to be very accommodating, because they will make mistakes. You know, they will make more mistakes. So you have to kind of, a lot of this has to do with you. So you better know your KPA inside and out and be prepared to say, this has to work. So like, to me, I'm like, if someone sits around and is like, oh, well, I didn't do something because I was waiting for you to respond to me. I'm like, you could have looked this stupid. My daughter could have looked this, and I'm not going to say this, but in my head, I'm thinking, my daughter could have looked this up on the internet. Why would you not? Did you not think to go next door and ask a question? You know what I mean? Like, this is very, very simple. That kind of stuff, zero. I don't have a lot of patience for that. We just can't hire people like that. It's just too hard for me.
Yeah.
How can an agent get a KPA for a potential hire?
I think it's Diana or Kara, or I don't know, you send somebody at the office an email and then it just happens.
At what point do you do this KPA meeting? Is it your first meeting?
Okay, so I'm going to skip to the next one because I'm going to have Diana answer the one before that. At what point do you do this KPA meeting? So I do my very first meeting is I'm just going to like sit down with you for 15 to 30 minutes. Some people do this over the phone. It could be a Zoom, doesn't matter. Whatever you're comfortable with. I like to do it in person because I am looking at how they're dressed. I'm looking at how they're holding their body. I'm seeing if they click their gum. I'm seeing if they pick their nose. You'd be surprised what people will do. And I'm like, you know, I'm just looking at how they hold themselves, the way they present themselves. I'm one of those people, like, if you're a few minutes late, I don't freak out about it, because chances are I'm probably a few minutes late. But there's some people that really matters to them, and they're going to care if they're on time. So my first meeting will just be, I keep looking back there, will just be 30 minutes of, and it doesn't even have to be 30 minutes, 15 minutes of like, what are you looking for? What do you want? Then if I'm like, okay, I could live, because essentially you're kind of living with this person. I could live with this person. Nobody on the team is going to be like, oh my gosh, that's so, you know, I'm also looking to see, and this sounds terrible, but like, I don't like smoking. Smoking's not a thing for me. So like, do you smell like an ashtray? You know, that's not something you can get over the phone. So that's kind of one of the things.
Why gum smacking? I'm very curious. Is that just a pet peeve?
I mean, like if someone's always like licking their gum, I'm like, ugh. I mean, like, this drives me.
It's certainly a pet peeve.
So I'll just say, I'm glad you wanted to meet. Tell me a little bit about yourself. Like, what are you looking for? Are you new? I try to find out, like, are they new to this? What are you really looking for? This is usually when, if they were on a team, you kind of hear something about that. If they, had been at KW and don't necessarily, just all the things like, well, I used to be at EXP, or, you just hear kind of the stuff. But I'm really wanting to know, what I'm hoping to hear is that I want growth. I'm looking for growth. I want to make a lot of money. I need my time back. I'm looking for something different in my life. And really, this is just the first phase. I love doing this. A lot of people do not like doing this. So to me, I could do about 3 of these a day. Like, it is my passion. I love doing this. And so I think you're just looking for someone that you feel like I could spend 2 hours chatting with this person.
Do you generally gravitate towards people who fill the time on their own, or do you generally gravitate towards people you have to almost pull it out of, or you have to ask a lot more leading questions?
If you do, so sometimes I don't do the life story. I typically do, but if, like, I've left doing one of these where I'm like, there's just something they're not telling me, like, and I think I think I'm an empath, so I'm super, super intuitive about things. Yeah. And I don't know how to say, it sounds weird to say I can feel when people are lying, but I can feel when someone isn't telling the truth, or there's something there. Yeah. And it's not genuine. It's just like, because sometimes it's like something that has nothing to do with anything, but I always want to know. And so this one is hard for me because I can't see their eyes. Like, I'm always wanting to look, like, to me, like, I'll tell my kids, tell me that again and look in my eyes. I'm trying to see, like, what's going on. And so if you aren't at least a little bit open, it's super hard for me. I think when you do the life story, there's some interesting things about that. I like when people give examples in their life and their job. That's really important for me. Like, to me, this is some about job, but this is a lot about who you are as a human being. Like, I'm trying to figure out who you are as a human being, because that tells a lot. Because if they don't have any real estate experience,
you can teach that.
You're looking at the things. I'm like, do you have the drive? What is inside of you? Like, how bad do you want this? Do you have a chip on your shoulder? So that's kind of what I'm looking at.
This was a buyer's agent conversation. If you were looking for an administrative assistant, what would have changed about this?
Okay, this is me personally. I do better with people who are like, oh, Carissa, you're so crazy. Let me help you. Like, I want someone who is going to nurture me and nurture my agents, and that has a very, very clear understanding of how we make money, how we pay them, understanding that. And so I am looking for that ability to nurture. And like, my sister, in a lot of ways, would not come off as a nurturer because she's pretty out there. Like, she's aggressive, but for her job doing contract to close, I mean, like, she'll say stuff and I'm like, are you smiling? And she's like, this is my smiling voice. I'm like, oh my God, like, that's really, and she's gotten better. And I'm like, use more emojis. Come on, like, just more emojis. More emojis will help.
Back to the figured out ability, it seems like that's really the role where figured out ability comes in.
Admin?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And admin.
Yeah, I need you to, and you're going to want their crazy high on structure. But if you're looking for someone like, I have no structure, we have no systems, we don't have really anything, then you're going to want someone who you're going to want probably someone in the middle, because if they have a high need for structure, they will be frustrated with you. So you have to be, when I'm hiring admin, I am way, way more detailed on the bad stuff about me. Like, I mean, I put it all out there, and I literally go through and say, I don't respond to text messages. You may send me an email. You're going to have to keep up with me. You have to follow me around and say, if you don't do this, I'm going to literally slash the tires on your car. Like, I am a lot to wrangle. Like, it's a lot, especially if they're working directly with me. I tell them everything bad about me, everything. Like, you will never hate me, most likely, as a human being, but you will hate working with me at some point. Like you will just be frustrated because you feel like I'm not giving you the tools that you need to do your job. And you have to still like me and get it done. I'm going to explain things in such a way that make probably no sense to you. And you are going to have to take the initiative and know me well enough to say, I don't understand. Is this what you mean? Is this what you mean? Is this what you mean? Like,
it's about not just knowing what the job is, but also why it's important. Knowing the why is what makes it great.
I think knowing the why, and also just knowing, like, I tell a lot of people, I'm like, you know, our stuff is by no means perfect. And your job is to make a system. I'm going to give you some ideas and I'm going to tell you kind of what I want. And you have to take what I want and the things that I want it to feel, and you have to turn that into a linear and logical plan that everyone on the team can follow. That is not an easy task. I mean, hiring an admin is hard. For me, it's harder than a buyer's agent. But I think where we as agents make mistakes is we're not being 100% upfront about it. You know, I think another great series would be, because most of our admin have been on the team, you know, I don't know, 3 to 7 years or so, is talking to the admin, like getting an admin panel and saying, like, what is it really like? What was it like when you got there? And, you know, one of our ISAs that ended up leaving the team, at the very end, we parted ways in a great position, but at the very end, he said, you know what? Everything that you said, I don't know if this is a compliment or not, but he's like, you never told me a lie. Everything you said when you hired me was totally true. I think he thought that I was making it up and it wasn't true. And I was like,
Just trying to scare him away or something?
yeah, no, I wasn't. I was being honest. He's like, you were right. I was like, I was being honest. So like, I never want someone to say, and this is a huge fear of mine, I would have made a different decision if you had told me everything, if you'd been honest with me, if you'd told me the ugly stuff. So I'm like, I'm going to lead a lot of times with the ugly stuff. I'm like, let me tell you all the bad things about me, because everybody's probably going to tell you, oh, she's so fun, they're awesome, the team's great, but let me tell you the ugly stuff.
Yeah. So the characteristics of the things that you know, they are looking for in an admin is, you know.
Well, this is going to be, you can see what, like, so really, like, I just need to get an admin one of these, and I can show you, like, someone on our teams. So you can, yeah, so all the traits are going to be in a totally different order, like what probably total opposite of this. And so, I mean, you're looking for attention to detail, you're looking for a lot of things, but if you're looking for someone to come in and make something out of nothing, which is essentially, you know, the very first admins that we had, and even like our admin now, I'm like, I want this, and there's nothing, and I need you to make it into something. That it's not easy, but they have to have, especially if you're spacey like me, they have to have the ability to feel like they are nurturing you. And I think in a lot of senses, like, oh, Carissa, she's so crazy. I love her to pieces, but she's a mess. So I'm going to help her. I'm going to fix it. I'm going to do this because I know it can help her. So they have to have that desire to nurture or help or care for you, and feel that way about the team as well. And a lot of that, I think you can see on here, but that is a lot of digging. That's a lot of digging in here. It's a lot of questions, trying to find out, like, are you going to take care of me? Are you willing to drive over and, you know, get me when I forgot to tell you, and I should have told you the night before, but I forgot. And now I'm like, I'm here and I'm stuck and I have to be somewhere in 20 minutes. Can you come get me? You know, and some of this is you. Like, I mean, if you're more detail oriented and you've got a lot of systems, then it's you're looking for someone different. But you need to have a very clear understanding of the good parts of you, but more importantly, the bad parts of you. The things that you really say you're going to do. Like I used to say, and our team leader one time told me, I'm like, I'm going to do better at training. He's like, look, here's the deal. You're never going to do better. I am the most inconsistent person. So if you know that you're inconsistent, on my strength finders, consistency is my last one. It's the very last one. You need to find someone that is uber consistent, because you don't have that. And if it's your first hire, you definitely have to hire someone that you can work with, but that is also going to complement you and make you better. Because admin truly, the reason why us as agents look good is because of the admin behind the scenes that are doing all the stuff. Because if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't do anything. It's 100% true. I look good because of all the stuff that they're doing. It's the only reason. Any other questions?
It doesn't look like it.
Did Diana, so the KPA comes from someone in the office. You can either message Diana, Jesse, someone, and they'll get it ordered and they can figure that stuff out. So yes, that would be an easy way to do it. So if you guys would like, I would love to do a life story. You may not want to be the life story, but I can do a life story on anyone. And
I don't mind me crying, I'll do it.
Oh no, I was like, we're so close here.
I was close.
Yeah.
Did you?
So life story is, I think it's super powerful, I think, for both parties. So I would love to do life story at some time, but that actually does take a while. So, okay, guys. Well, thank you for your time. We appreciate it. I hope that it helps everybody out.
Thank you, Carissa.
You're welcome.
Hey, can we do a KPA for an admin and the life story later this year?
Yeah, I'm happy to.
All right, perfect. We'll get it on there. Thanks,
Okay.
guys.
Awesome.